anytime we tell a story, the storyteller starts by saying, story, story, and then you say, story.
Story.
Once again,
Robert, can you unmute yourself?
It. So it's not story, it's story.
Story. I was worried because he muted himself, so he has to say it too.
You have to be it.
Okay.
And then I say once upon a time, and then you say time. Okay, so are we ready?
Ready.
Yes.
Story.
Story.
You already got it wrong.
Oh, I got an F. We got to make it long. Story.
Yes, that's it. Okay, here we go. Story. Awesome. Once upon a time.
Time.
Awesome. When we do it, if you do it often enough, it just comes naturally. All right. Okay. So once upon a time, the bat and the rat were cousins. Some people say bats are like rats of the sky. They kind of look a little bit like, rats with wings on them. So they were cousins, okay? And they would play all day. They would have a good time every day, and they were living a happy life as cousins. Meanwhile, the rats and the falcons were at war. Okay, so I like to exaggerate when I tell my stories. War! They were at war, okay? And they were fighting. And it came down to the final battle. They were going to decide who was going to be the one to win this final battle, okay? So on the first day of battle, the falcon came flying in, and it flapped its wings, landed on a tree, and it called out to the rats and said, "Rats, are you ready for a battle?" And the rats said, "Yes!" And the bats and the rats began. No, I'm saying the bats and the rats, the bats and the falcons. I'm mixing up my animals. The bats and the falcon, they began to fight, and they fought for so long. But ultimately, the falcons won. Okay, so the falcons won, and the bats, they were so sad. It was defeat, and nobody wants to lose a battle, so they were so sad. They were crying. But did they give up? No, they did not give up. The rats sharpened their claws, and they got ready for the second day of battle. Okay, and so the falcons came back, flapping their wings, ready for battle. They landed on a tree, and they called out, and they said, "Rats, are you ready for battle?" And the rats said, "Yes!" And once again, the rats and the falcon, they began to fight. And they fought. They fought for a long time. And once again, the falcons won the war, the battle. And it was so sad. And they were so sad, and they did not know what to do. And so when you're fighting a battle, sometimes you need to get reinforcements, okay? So the rats thought to themselves, the bat is our cousin. The bat has wings, so maybe the bat should come help us to fight this war. Because the falcon has wings, the bat has wings. Maybe that advantage will help us out a little bit in this war. We need somebody in the sky doing something, because this falcon is just all over the place, attacking us from all angles. And so they went to their cousin, the bat, and the bat was happy to help them fight this war. And so, on the third day of battle, the rats and the bats got together, and the falcon came flapping its wings, landed on a tree, and it said to them, "Bats, rats, are you ready for battle?" And the rats and the bat said, "Yes!" And they all began to fight, and they fought. And still, even with the bat's help, they lost the battle again. This falcon was just way too powerful for them. And so they lost and lost and lost. And so the bat thought to itself, this is not looking good for us. This falcon is not, we're not beating this falcon. So there's no point fighting against the falcon. And I want to be on the winning team. So the bat said, I'm going to now side with the falcon. I'm going to leave my cousins, the bat, behind, and I'm going to fight now with the falcons because the falcon is the winner, and I want to be a winner. Who doesn't want to be a winner? So he left his cousin, the rats, and he went to fight with the falcon. I hope I'm getting the bats and the rats as I'm going through the story because I feel like they rhyme. So, but I hope you're following along. Anyways, so the bat went to side with the falcon, and on the next day of battle, the falcon came flapping its wings along with the bat by its side, and the falcon said, "Rats, are you ready for battle?" And the rats said, "Yes!" And they fought and they fought and they fought and they fought and they fought. And of course, they lost the battle. And the bat was happy that he was on the winning team. And so after they fought this battle, the bat went to his friends, the falcon, and said, "Falcons, now we've won the war. Let's go have fun. Let's go play. Let's go do the things I would do with my cousins, the rats." And the falcon said, "Nope. You betrayed your cousins. You are a traitor. We cannot have a traitor in our midst. We don't like that. So even though you fought for us, we do not like that you are a traitor." And they started to call the bat a traitor. And they said, "Traitor, traitor, traitor, traitor." And the bat was so ashamed. He covered his face. He was so ashamed because he was being called a traitor, didn't want to be called a traitor. And so he decided, okay, let me go back to my cousins, the rats, and see if they will play with me now because I don't want to be called a traitor and the falcons don't want anything to do with me. So the bat went back to his cousin the rat. And the rat said, "Nope. You betrayed us in our time of need. When we needed you the most, you betrayed us. And so we cannot have you back. We want nothing to do with you." And they called the bat a traitor. And they said, "Traitor, traitor, traitor, traitor." And the bat was so ashamed because everybody was calling it a traitor. The rats were calling it a traitor. The falcon was calling it a traitor. Everybody was calling it a traitor. And he just did not want to be called a traitor. He was just so ashamed. And so from that day forward, the bat decided he would never come out at daytime again. He would never come out at daytime so that nobody would be awake to call him a traitor. And so from that day forward, the bat would stay in the dark, only come out in the nighttime when the falcon and the rats were not there to call him a traitor. And that is why still today, bats are nocturnal. And that is how our story ends.
Yay! That was an amazing story. I just gotta say, that was an amazing story.
It was an amazing story. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
You really got me confused.
Spelling's not an option, and dad is not a noun, not at all.